The following is a presentation of Project Independence and WCWP. Project Independence is the Aging in Place initiative of the town of North Hempstead. We provide programs and services designed to assist and support the older town residents who wish to remain in their homes as they age. If we don't currently provide a service, we will try and connect you to that service. Call 311 or 869-6311 to get more information or receive services.
Welcome to Project Independence and You.
Good morning and welcome to Project Independence and You, Community Talk Radio on 88.1 FM and WCWP.org. I'm your host today, Rebecca Miller, along with our co-host, Otto Lohse. How are you, Otto?
Good morning, Rebecca. Doing well, fortunately.
Glad to hear.
It's always a good thing when you're doing well.
Yeah. And also, of course, is our radio show producer, Kristina Liu. And we'll be talking a lot with Kristina in the second hour of the show with Talk of the Town. Our guests today are great, as usual. We have the Transition Network, the Long Island chapter is being represented by Lindsey Draves, who is the Long Island chapter chair. So welcome, Lindsey. I know you just got on. And also Barbara Mehlman, who is not only a Project Independence volunteer, facilitates technology for the terrified, and has just always been a wonderful ambassador for Project Independence. She's also a member of the Long Island chapter for the Transition Network. So welcome to our guests today.
Thank you very much. We're really pleased to be here, and we're thrilled that you had us on.
Great to have you. So I have a little blurb about the Transition Network, and then I want to hear all about it. The Transition Network is a member-driven organization. It's run by and for women with fulfilling career experiences who are traveling together through life's many transitions. So that's a nice summary, but where did it all start? And if this is the Long Island chapter, I assume that it is national and sounds like it's quite the network. So if you could give us a little bit of a background, we'd love to hear all about it.
We'd love to do that, Rebecca. We were actually started 22 years ago, the Transition Network, by two amazing women who had a real vision. Christine Millen and Charlotte Frank were friends that had retired and in essence looked at each other and said, what now? So they started the Transition Network, and that was in New York City that it began. And there are now 15 chapters across the country. And Long Island, with over 830 members, is the largest chapter in the country, even larger than New York City chapter.
Oh, wow.
So we are really proud about that. We have a very active and engaged membership. And our purpose is really very simple. We, the whole organization, we bring women together so they can expand their lives and support and inspire each other across life's transitions. And those transitions may include a number of different kinds of transitions. So, for example, some people have left a long time career, and that certainly is their transition. They are exploring new interests and new ways maybe to work. They are now divorced or have lost a spouse. They are empty nesting, or they have moved and they're looking to reestablish themselves and make new friends. And we are in a position with all the programs that we offer, we do all of that and more.
Are the women who belong to this, are they, like I saw a number, 50 years and up, or is it, it strikes me that you would be a little older when you get into that position.
We do have, we are open to anybody that's 50 and over. That's correct. And some people join when they are that age. We do have some members that are in their mid to late 50s. But we cross all age spectrums. We have 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. And there are a wide variety of ways that our members can be involved. We have 3 core kinds of segments that we focus on, and it really enables everybody to be active in some way. We offer small groups. Some of those are like discussion groups or transition peer groups where people can explore with a small number of people their transition. We have also special interest groups, and that includes everything from book clubs to mahjong and canasta and hiking and biking and cooking. You name it. If anybody has an idea that we don't have yet as a group, it can be created. And then we have chapter-wide events, and we offer programs every month that might be include things like authors and lectures, as well as cultural and social things, luncheons with speakers, luncheons just for fun. We have exercise classes online. And during the pandemic, we offered everything virtual. We transitioned completely to virtual, and we had everybody engaged that way. Now we're doing some virtual and some in person. And finally, we offer workshops. We have 2 signature workshops that the organization created. One is on women in transition, and one is called On Resilience. And those workshops sometimes may be offered in person. Now we also offer them virtually. And that has been a real plus too, so that people from across the country in our chapters and also non-members can take the workshops with people from a wide variety of places, not just Long Island.
You know, Lindsey, what you're describing sounds like a tremendous need for organizing, planning, a lot of effort involved.
And you're exactly right, Otto.
Yeah, I mean, are you
Exactly.
doing this as a volunteer, or are you? Yeah. So you must spend a lot of time on this, because I can only imagine. You know, I'm an organizer type, and I know what's involved when you mention all these names. They all require effort, planning, people. You know, it's quite a handy task you've got there.
Well, we do have a lot of volunteers that do this. I mean, we are, as Rebecca mentioned earlier, run by an organization run by women for women. And our chapter is run by volunteers. We have a steering committee, every chapter does, with a chapter chair that I am, and committee chair people that run their respective committees. And we do manage to do, with all the people that volunteer, we really run the organization. The national organization does have, as all not-for-profit organizations do, we have a paid executive director. And we also have a paid program director that works on a lot of national offerings. And those 2 people are amazing and do a wonderful job and work very closely with us. And there is a national board of directors that oversees the entire organization.
Lindsey, so you're talking about that sounds like you have a lot of wonderful programs. Definitely, I could see different needs, especially for women who are in their 50s, who might be, like you said, empty nesters, still working, maybe 20 more years ahead of them in a career of 15 to 20. Also, perhaps divorced, and it goes so far, I guess, into the future, you know, for all different transitions. So I'm curious too about the programs. Are they like regular programming? Is it something that every Wednesday we have this kind of program for people who are in this kind of segment of life or transition in life? Or is it kind of just as things come out?
Well, the chapter-wide events are offered, and they're one-offs, and we have various different programs each month that various of our committees produce and offer. Some of them are free, some of them have a fee. And I should mention, you know, of course, the organization has dues. Any member, that person that chooses to join The dues for the Long Island chapter are $100 a year, which is really minimal and based on everything we offer. And part of that goes to our chapter and part goes to the national organization. And, but we have all the small groups that I mentioned, and we have probably over maybe close to 125 different kinds of small groups that meet on a regular basis.
Okay.
Those groups might have 10 people. Some of them might have 30 people. Those groups generally meet once a month. Some of the groups might meet every 2 weeks or even every week, but generally they meet once a month, and they determine their own meeting time and when they want to get together, where they want to get together. The chapter-wide events are, of course, sometimes if they're virtual, that's obvious how they take place. And then they take place at various different venues because we are a totally virtual organization. We don't have an actual physical space or office. Right. And anybody that is part of our organization, we communicate completely via email and our website. And everything that happens, people can sign up on the website.
I read that you have a Connect Now open house. I'm thinking, how do people get involved? Could you maybe explain that a little bit? How does that work and what's the purpose of it?
Sure. Ironically, or maybe our open house was just last week. We have it every 6 months, but and we did in that open house have over 100 people attended. Some were members already, and some were people looking to learn about the organization. And we had, I believe, close to 30 people join as a result. And but it's not necessary to come to a Connect Now to join. We have the organization offers new member discussions or talks, and you can register for them on our website, and you don't need to be a new member. You can just be an interested person, and you can learn about the organization that way. Or you can simply go to our website, which is ttnwomen.org, ttnwomen.org, and look at the website and learn about it that way. And there's my name and number and email address. I mean, as well as the membership committee chair. We're listed on the website, and so anybody can reach out and get more information if they want to. And we are always open to talking to people and telling them about our organization.
I went on your website and we got a copy of your newsletter, and I have a question. There were some initials in there that I didn't get. It was SIG and TPG.
Okay.
What
Yeah,
does
those
that
are
mean?
the two things I mentioned earlier, but I guess I didn't call them that. TPGs are transition peer groups. Those are like our discussion groups, that's small groups that get created. And special interest groups, SIGs.
Okay.
Those are all the other kind of groups, like the book clubs and the walking groups and the biking groups and the cooking groups. And as I said, we have over 125 of those groups, and we have new ones starting all the time. So it's a really nice way for people to get involved and meet people. And that's one of the key things that I have found about the organization. I never expected to be able to make at my age the kind of friends that I have made through this organization. Friends that are really special to me, and people even in my own town that I never would have met if I hadn't been in TTN. And I think Barbara can also speak to some of the benefits that members are finding in our organization, because she's been a longtime member, and she, I think, has had some really wonderful experiences too. Barbara?
Yep, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
We can hear you, yes.
It really changed my life. I used to be a member of a music group of about 800 people, and I was on the board and I was active. And I realized at some point that friends had retired and moved away to retirement communities. Some had died. Some had been become infirm and couldn't come to concerts anymore. And I found myself suddenly without any connections. And I needed more friends. And it's very hard to make friends at this age. People usually have their set groups. And then I read in Newsday about the Transition Network. Oh, nice. And it changed my life. I have met some of my closest friends in the Transition Network, a travel partner with whom I have traveled all over the world with. I ran a travel discussion group for several years where we would meet once a month at a diner for breakfast, and we would discuss places we travel tips, anything you can think of that involves travel. Some people there found travel partners. Then there is, walking groups, hiking groups, and it really became a central part of my life. And, I could not imagine not having this group anymore because, when the way to stay healthy when you are elderly is to make sure you have a good social network. And the Transition Network is just perfect. I belong to the Long Island chapter. And because I live in Great Neck, which is very close to New York City, I actually joined the New York City chapter as well. So I belong to two chapters. And I just highly recommend it to anybody who really needs to expand their social network.
It sounds wonderful. I think I'm interested too. We actually have to take a quick break. You're listening to Project Independence in You, and we're speaking with Lindsey Draves and also Barbara Mehlman about the Transition Network. We'll be right back with Project Independence in You after a quick break.
So I get this call from my grandma, and she's like,
"What's a podcast, and how much does it cost?"
So I tell her, podcasts are like radio shows, but you can download them on any device and listen to them anywhere at any time, and they're free. And then she says,
"I see, but where can you find good ones?"
And I'm like, go to wcwp.org/podcast and check out the lineup of original shows, or download any podcast app on your phone or tablet and search for LIU Studios. And she's all like,
"Oh, that sounds easy."
And then she asked me what an app is.
LIU Studios podcasts, available on any podcast app. Those little button things on your phone screen. Just ask your grandkids.
And welcome back to Project Independence in You on 88.1 FM and WCWP.org. I'm Rebecca Miller, along with Otto Lohse and Kristina Lou. We are hosting this great radio show and speaking to members of the Transition Network, Lindsey Draves, who's the Long Island chapter chair, and also Barbara Mehlman, who's our Project Independence volunteer and technology guru who helps out everybody here with Project Independence. So during the break, we were chatting a little bit, but I'm curious, Lindsey, you have such a strong role, obviously, as the Long Island chair. And as Otto was pointing out before, there's a lot going on when he was asking about, if you're paid, if you're volunteered. And with over 800 members just from Long Island alone, and it sounds like it's growing. I'd love to know about your background and what kind of drove you to become, the role that you've taken on with this network.
Okay, my original background, after I got out of grad school, I did teach for a couple of years, but I soon realized that, while that it's a wonderful profession, it just wasn't the right one for me. So I had been living out and working out of state. So I moved back to New York, where I was originally from, and I transitioned. The word transition always pops up, transitioned into business. And I utilized my skills in math and statistics, which I had an affinity for, I suppose. And I ended up in the field of media and market research. ultimately, I worked over 16 years as the corporate research director for Condé Nast Publications. And then I moved over to the other side of our industry, and I worked as a vice president for some media and market research companies, that industry is all based in New York. And so I retired as a vice president of one of the major media research companies in the country.
Wow.
So basically, you're using your real life experience of managing and researching and organizing and whatever, and applying it to what I think is an excellent idea. Wish they had it for men, but I happen to be one that doesn't have a problem filling my time. So, I'm volunteering with Project Independence, and I always tell people, man or woman, when you retire, don't think about it as the opportunity to sleep late and watch television all day. I like the word rewirement. You're
Right.
rewiring your life, and you should kind of take the time to think about what you'd like to do and how you can take advantage of your life experience and maybe give it as a benefit to others, and enjoy it while you're at it.
That's true. And one of the things that I find that was really helpful for me when I retired, and as I mentioned, I'd already joined TTN before that, but I was able to be more active once I was retired. And I found that being more involved and volunteering my services it enabled me to still utilize my skill set. And I think that's really important for people after they retire, to find a way to still use the skills that you have, so you don't lose them, and it helps you to remain really active, both physically and intellectually. And that was important to me. And I think it's important to a lot of others as well, which is why we have so many wonderful people volunteering in our organization. We have an amazing number of women that just donate their time to create the organization that we have.
Yeah, I agree completely.
If I can pipe in here.
Sure.
One of the groups being a lifelong New York City person, what I did was run a group, also a special interest group for museums. We called ourselves Museum Mavens, and and the way it worked is everybody in the group had a date. We met the first or the second Wednesday of the month, and each person had to find a museum that very few people had ever visited, and plan a lunch and plan a museum visit. And so we got to places like the Noguchi Museum in Queens and the Skyscraper Museum in Lower Manhattan, and all sorts of interesting museums. And it was just a wonderful experience. And it was wonderful getting together in the city. And a lot of people don't like to go to this. A lot of women don't like to go to the city by themselves, but they like going with a group. So it made them feel more secure. And the other thing is, because I worked for Apple for so many years, I started doing workshops for the Transition Network, because this is how I could contribute. And I actually did technology workshops for the Transition Network.
They were very well attended and well received.
Yeah. I mean, I know Barbara, does the same for Project Independence. And Lindsey, I loved what you were saying. It's a lot of the things you do and a lot of the programming that you do is very similar to Project Independence. So we have advisory boards in the town of North Hempstead. We have Project Independence. We're a department for the town of North Hempstead. And we kind of look at the town in 6 or 7 regions. So within each region, early on, we formed these advisory boards, which were made up of our senior population in these particular regions. Like we'd have Great Neck as one region, and then maybe New Hyde Park, and all kind of different. Great Neck, you have a lot of apartments, more suburbia, and some of the other parts. So there's a lot of different needs throughout. And what we learned was what a wealth of talent that we have in, with our older population in North Hempstead. And so many of the programs that we've had, I would say the majority, right, Kristina, of the like really super popular, strong programs came from ideas from our senior population. I mean, we listened to the advisory board. Someone came up with the idea of utilizing taxis for our transportation program, which we did. Even a senior came up with the idea for the radio show. I believe he was an engineer. There's so much wealth in the population, and understanding that, and keeping people engaged like they want to be. I mean, retirement or rewirement is very different today than it was. Like when I remember my grandparents retiring, and that was kind of it for them, and that was fine. But today it's like when you hear someone say, "Oh, I'm retiring," your first question is, "Oh, where are you going? What are you doing?" Because they're not going to Florida permanently, or maybe they're going to take a part-time job, or they're going to travel or something like that. But it's so different today when you hear someone's retiring. So this is such a wonderful network, a wonderful program. And
there's one other, if I may just add quickly, there's one other arm that of our organization that I did not mention yet, which we have a whole segment that deals with community volunteering, and that we have many Long Island partnerships with various agencies that we provide volunteers for. And many of our members, that's their favorite part of TTN. So we work closely with Island Harvest and the Book Fairies and social services and the shelter and the Safe Center. And we do, and we have a list of 10 or 11 organizations that we work closely with and volunteer with and help them out in any way we can. And that's something that we really treasure, that piece.
Yeah, and I just want to add something also. How I first got involved, there was something called it was a meet and greet. I think now it's called Connect Now. And we met at a restaurant, and it was free, and it was a cocktail party with lots of hors d'oeuvres. And there must have been about 75 people there. And we're all standing around, and you don't know anybody, but listening into other people's conversation, I heard one woman talk about how she loves the theater. So I butted into her conversation. I said, "So do I." I said, "Do you have anyone to go to the theater with?" She said, "Not usually." I said, "You want to go to the theater together?" Well, she has become my best friend. We spent 6 weeks together, living together in Florence, Italy, and then 6 weeks together living in Florence and Verona. We've in Italy and Verona, we've taken driving trips together from Charleston to Austin. We're taking one this February through the Florida Keys. I never would have been able to meet a friend like that if it hadn't been for the Transition Network.
Yeah, it really is. People have made friends that they never expected to make, and it's such a joy. Really is.
And now that I had the shoulder surgery, I have all of my friends from TTN calling me saying, "Can I do any shopping for you? Can I get you anything? How are you feeling?" And it's really wonderful to know that I'm not alone, even though I live alone.
And that's another thing we have. Some of our small groups are living alone groups. And that was especially important during the pandemic. We had several living alone groups of maybe, no more than 10, 12 people in a group. And they met virtually, some of them every week. And it was really very, very helpful. And they made new friends too, because they didn't necessarily know the people originally.
Right. I'm curious, also similar to Project Independence, once the pandemic hit, we went virtual with every program we possibly could go virtual with. And we also have a government channel where we are continuing to run fitness classes and Zoom. And now that most of our programming is back in person, we're doing a hybrid. So people that still are not coming out. I'm wondering if the going virtual for the Transition Network, more people were able to enroll. And what I assume now, like you had mentioned earlier, you're continuing with a lot of the programming virtual too, because it really is wonderful for networking. So
well, you're right, Rebecca. One of the there were benefits that came out of the pandemic. Right. And one of those for us was the programs. All our programs, for the most part, used to be limited by chapter for each chapter because it was geography. Now we have so many programs that are virtual, and people from all across the country in our various chapters can attend the same program. So you're able to share a lot of programs with others. During the pandemic, the Long Island programs that we were offering, they were open to everybody in our organization. Didn't matter if you were in San Francisco or Chicago or, Atlanta. You could, sign up and come to a Long Island virtual program and vice versa. Mm-hmm. And we are continuing a lot of those virtual programs nationally. They are still offering many programs across the board like that. It's really wonderful.
I joined a Zoom program that originated in Philadelphia. And one of the women and I got really interested in each other. And I happened to be traveling to Philadelphia on vacation last summer. And so I wound up meeting this new Ttn person, in Philadelphia that I never would have met had it not been for this program.
Right.
That's great. It's really, like you said, we don't want to say some good things did come because the pandemic, certainly technology really came into the forefront and was needed, and real, what a great tool it's been for us. And like I said, a lot of our things are still, virtual. Some things are still fully virtual, while others are a combination, and other things are in person. So
the virtual part, I'm sorry, but the virtual part of it, if you think about it, not everybody is like Barbara and walks up to somebody at a cocktail party and feels comfortable with just saying something. So the virtual part of it has really given people who are maybe not quite as comfortable with that in-person stuff,
yes,
to be doing it virtually and get to know people, on a different kind of a base, if you will.
You're right, Otto. And this person that I approached, assaulted, and said, I'm looking for someone to go to the theater with. She's an introvert. She never would have approached me.
Right. But she was there, though.
But she was there.
Right.
And approached her, and that's how it all started.
Everybody's personality is different.
Yeah, right.
Some people need a little bit of a push to get involved with something like this, and others do like Lindsey. They organize it. It's that's what makes the world go around.
Well, trust me, that doesn't happen with one person. As they say, it takes a village, and TTN has a wonderful village.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine one person doing all the things you described.
Doesn't happen.
Humanly impossible.
No, there are a lot of wonderful people that volunteer their time and expertise to make our chapter and the whole organization what it is.
It does help to have a few people who try to pull it together. Otherwise you've got everybody running in different paths, and that doesn't work either, I don't think.
Yeah. Well, I'm also a member of the program committee. And I brought up to the chairman of that committee, a woman named Sue Sham,
Oh,
I
that's
said,
communications, right.
right, communications.
Yeah.
And I said there has to be a way for people to join two chapters, because while I also belong to the New York City chapter, we have a lot of snowbirds who want to join a Florida chapter as well as a Long Island chapter. And that came out of that communications committee meeting. And it was instituted, and it's terrific.
Right. It's wonderful. We do now have people that, especially snowbirds and Long Island and New York City, that they can belong to more than one chapter. And that's a bonus for very little additional money.
I see that there's a lot of different topics and committees. You've got a committee on health and wellness, on the volunteer committee, anti-racism task force. I mean, there's so many different programs and committees. So when we come back, we're going to take a quick break. I have some questions about how they come to be. Does it come down from, the big office, or is every area different? You're listening to Project Independence in You on 88.1 FM and WCWP.org, and we will be right back.
WCWP is your home for great music and great conversation. You'll find all that and more on WCWP.org. Listen live on the web, check out the lineup, subscribe to podcasts, and stay up to date on the latest station events. Get in touch with us and let us know if you like what you're hearing. And find out how you can support or get involved at the only community public radio station serving Nassau's North Shore. Plus, sign up to get a free bumper sticker. It's all online at WCWP.org.
Welcome back to Project Independence in You, Community Talk Radio on 88.1 FM and WCWP.org. I'm Rebecca Miller, along with Otto Lohse and Kristina Lou. We're talking with the Transition Network, Lindsey Draves, who is the chair of the Long Island chapter, and of course, Barbara Mehlman, who is a great support of Project Independence and provides a lot of programming for us, and is also a Long Island member and a New York City member, of course. So, Barbara, you're really out there. I love hearing all that you're doing and your stories of connection. That's the one thing that just seems to be kind of ringing true or loud to me, is all these like important connections and how so many people of different characters actually get together. Like you were saying, Barbara, you met this woman who she's in Philadelphia, or at the cocktail party, and you're much more outgoing, and yet you heard something, and you two, have this incredible connection now, almost your best friend. So it's really, it just sounds like a wonderful opportunity to connect with people who are like you, people who are not like you, things that you have in common. And, and maybe it's even time to explore things that you haven't before. You're never too old to start something new and make new friends.
The word I would use, Rebecca, it has reinvigorated my life.
Right. Because
when you retire, I was used to, I was a high school librarian, and I would finish at 3:00. At 4:00, I'd be at the Apple store in Manhasset, and I would work until 8:00, and I would work on weekends. I was working 7 days a week. And all of a sudden I was doing nothing. And it's an abrupt stop. It's like slamming on your brakes, and just avoiding hitting the windshield. And it was very difficult at times. I know when my brother retired, he went into a deep depression. Retirement is not all that wonderful if you haven't planned for it. And so finding the Transition Network is wonderful for people who suddenly find their lives either even gradually changing or abruptly changing.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. And I think what, there's so many transitions in life, and not just retirement, but like becoming an empty nester when you're used to, you're working full time, you're taking care of the kids, the husband, whatever your situation is. And when you, all of a sudden you're an empty nester, all those things that you've done your whole life as the mom, and you're working, and then you come home to the house and it's spotless. There's nothing for you to do. I'm talking from experience. Like, that was shocking to me when I knew that my life was changing completely, coming home to a spotless house, just the way I left it. And it's like, that was like a real, like, shocking time.
I want to add one more thing, which wasn't brought up yet. This isn't just for single women.
Right.
There are plenty married women in the group,
right,
whose husbands don't want to do anything. The husbands,
Not you, Otto.
have become couch potatoes, and the women find that, they're making lunch for their husbands and they're not doing anything else. And so, it's really been terrific for a lot of the women who are still married, but whose husbands just aren't in the mood to get out and do stuff.
Right. We have a very diverse membership in that regard. I mean, we have a broad range of backgrounds, experiences, certainly various marital status situations. And it really, if it's open to anybody, as long as you're over 50, we would love to meet you.
Lindsey, it was mentioned somewhere along the line when I read the material that TTN is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. And I found it interesting. Maybe you could explain a little bit what that really means.
Well, yes. And when our two founders, Christine Mehlman and Charlotte Frank, put this together, they were able to, which I think is amazing because it's not an easy task. They were able to get us, the Transition Network, to be listed as a 501c3 nonprofit. And it has many advantages, but we also have to always keep in mind that one of the key things about a 501c3 organization is that we can never benefit any private interests, and we cannot be involved in lobbying activities or political campaigns, so that we will never take a stand, on one side, an official stand on one side or the other of an issue. We do, of course, know that, and you make friends in your organization, and that some of your friends have one point of view, and maybe some have another point of view, but it's not an organization's point of view. And we also recently started the anti-racism task force that we have. The national organization, after the George Floyd occurrence, decided that it was important to be better informed about racial inequities and racial injustice. And so they put forth an initiative in general for ways that our organization could be more knowledgeable or become more knowledgeable. And our Boston chapter found and then embellished an amazing workshop, which they call Understanding Whiteness, or Unpacking Your Whiteness. And I've taken the workshop. It's a 7 week, 2 hours for 7 weeks. It was an amazing experience. A number of our members have taken the workshop. It's also open to non-members. And I learned so many things that I just never knew. And so that is something that the national organization, offers. And individual chapters are also doing various things. once the national organization decided they wanted to start working on this, I reached out in our chapter to a woman who had contacted me originally saying, is TTN going to be doing anything? As soon as we were starting to be involved, I reached out to her and said, how would you like to be involved in this workshop? And she immediately said yes. And she became one of the facilitators of the workshop. And then when we were starting the task force itself on Long Island, I asked her if she is one of the co-chairs of that task force. And the task force has a committee, and they do all sorts of projects and reaching out to others in our community. And they put a bulletin out every month. In fact, the May one came out this morning because May is the Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. And so they put out a bulletin about that this morning. And next month will be about Juneteenth. And so they've offered programs, and as I said, they've partnered with organizations they found across Long Island, and our various other chapters are doing similar things in their communities.
So, Lindsey, you just mentioned something very important, which I want to bring up also. If some woman listening to this program decides she wants to become a member and wants to participate in an event, she can bring a non-member as a guest very often.
Yes, many of our chapter-wide events are open to have somebody bring a guest that's a non-member.
And that person can then decide to join if she wants or not.
Correct.
So I really think that's terrific. Before I joined the New York City chapter, they were doing an event on Governor's Island. And I thought, I've never been to Governor's Island. And so I went as a guest of somebody else. And I enjoyed the company of the New York City women very much. And so I then joined the New York City chapter as well. And so I go back and forth between the two.
That's great. Lindsey, so most of these committees and the programmings are super timely, which is great. I'm curious, how do you kind of implement a newer topic, or does that come down from the Transition Network and they filter it through all the chapters? Is it really kind of more about your location and what's happening in your area? How do you decide on starting up a new program?
Well, I mean, as I said, the anti-racism initiative that originally, was a national initiative, which now is filtered down, and various chapters are doing their own things.
Right.
But regarding programming in general, I mean, the national organization does offer programming, which is open to, of course, all of us. But each individual chapter determines, in addition to that, what kind of programming they want to offer. And so that's up to each committee that's working on it. And then often will get passed by our steering committee that runs the chapter. And so we, approve it. If there's a question about something, we'll discuss it and approve it. So some of the programs we've had recently on health and wellness, we have had an excellent presentation in February, which is Heart Month, by a cardiologist from Northwell. And that was really very well received. And virtual, we did that virtual. And we've had other ones in the past. We have on breast cancer, health and wellness programs on breast cancer. We've had them on cooking demonstration of with healthy, ingredients. So, it will even health and wellness programs will cross a wide spectrum. So our another committee focuses on contemporary social issues. And so they have had a program which was really quite fascinating, where it was a panel discussion and luncheon, and they had a Catholic nun, a Protestant minister, and a Jewish rabbi, and a woman from the Muslim faith. And it really amazing. And another time we actually went to a Muslim location, and they gave us lunch and spoke to us about, their beliefs and how they operate, which was really very interesting. And we also do things sometimes that are just purely for fun. Last month we had a luncheon at the Jolly Fisherman in Roslyn and a canasta tournament for the afternoon. And we had, close to, I think, 80 women that came and had a wonderful afternoon. And next month, we're having for the first time since 2019, we are having our annual June luncheon, which is always a big event. And of course, we had to cancel it for 20 and 21, but we are having it at the Crest Hollow Country Club on June 14th. And we have a lovely, meal and cocktails around the pool. We have 15 vendors that come and set up, tables. And so our members enjoy the shopping as well with the vendors. And it's a nice event to see people that you maybe haven't seen in a while, but also to make some new friends and just relax. And we do that, I try to do it every year, and now we're excited to be able to do it again. Barbara?
Well, one of the things we need to talk about is how a SIG gets started, a special interest group. Let's say there's one you want to start. The program committee sent out what's called an e-blast, which was an email to everyone in the Long Island chapter. We want to start a travel group. If you are interested, meet at the Landmark Diner in Great Neck on Northern Boulevard. And about 70 women showed up.
Wow.
And it got whittled down to 20, okay, because people, they didn't want to commit to one day a week, or they couldn't, one day a month, or they couldn't find a day that worked for them. And we met for many, many years. It went and it was a very successful group. And as the COVID restrictions began to be lessened, we would meet at Eisenhower Park. And we would bring lunch, and we would sit in Eisenhower Park in the nice weather. And we would talk about our fears about traveling, when we thought we would start traveling again, what accommodations we were going to make if we were going to travel, where was it the safest to travel. And, I hope to start the group up again. Because
Barbara, I'm sorry, you mentioned pickleball before.
Yes.
Is there a group for pickleball as an example?
Let me tell you, I would love it, but there aren't enough pickleball courts on Long Island.
We have people that play, but we don't have anything official that's part of our chapter for pickleball. We have golf groups.
Do you?
We have golf groups, and we have biking, cyclist groups, and a lot of hiking and walking groups.
You have a bowling group?
No, we don't have that because, and I'm assuming only because nobody has asked to do that, because we start new groups all the time. And if somebody raises the bowling question, I'm sure we'll start one.
Well, I bowl in a bowling league called the Hopefuls, all right? And the Hopefuls Bowling League is made up of people that range between 60 and 95,
Oh, I love it.
men and women. Half the bowlers are women and half are men. It's not a couples league. It's, a lot of different people. But we're always looking for bowlers. So
We don't have a lot of time left. So Lindsey, I just wanted to ask you, you gave the website, we have that. Is there a phone number for people who don't have a computer that they can?
I can tell you, actually, people have to have some device that they can use, because as I said, we operate solely on
Virtual,
computer and virtual. So it's the TTN, the website is ttnwomen.org, or simply go to Google and search for the Transition Network, and we'll come right up.
And if anybody listening has any questions, just call 311. You can ask to speak with Kristina or myself, and we'd be happy to give you any information to connect. I want to thank you both so much, Lindsey and Barbara, for joining us today on Project Independence and You.